in general, the least happy cities in America are in the Rust Belt, in southeastern
like
part
Cleveland
of the United, West Virginia,
West Virginia.
Huntington, southern Texas. They tend to be places where people voted for Trump, quite honestly.
We're going to get to that later.
Yeah.
Where life
Remember,
is
this
hard.
is a balanced room. 50% are one side of that thing. You know, I'll just maintain. Go ahead.
And
so
by
science.
the way,
Back to the science.
Well, yeah. So it's not like some scientist came and bestowed the title of unhappiness. It's really a reflection of what people themselves say about their own lives.
Right.
So that's mostly what I dealt in for this story.
So can you walk us there? Can you I know you've got a visual talking about how you measure happiness. So
if you could put
we have that up there. Do we have a
slide,
screen?
So for this story and for the book, I relied on two huge pools of data. The first one was a collaboration from Google, Gallup, and University of Pennsylvania World Wellbeing Project, and they correlated happiness in about 200 cities, 220 cities, with 5 billion Google searches, and
Wow.
they found that we can actually predict your happiness better with what you look for on Google, what you search for on Google, than your education level or your income level. So it's a very good predictor. Not only that, incidentally, we found that people who own dogs and are Googling about their dogs are happier than cat owners. Go figure. We found that people who are looking for movies about action and comedies are happier than people who are looking for romance movies. And for those of you who prefer your romance by yourself in a room, we found that people who are looking for softcore porn are happier than those who like the harder stuff. So
You had to go there.
by the way, it's anonymous data, so we don't know who you are. But for most of this work, we rely on a much deeper, credible pool. The World Value Survey and the World Database of Happiness out of Europe, they have gathered data from 95% of the human population, representing 95% of the human population, in more than 155 countries. And with that, they've garnered big data insight. So first of all, you have to realize that happiness itself, academically speaking, is a meaningless term because you can't really measure happiness. But psychologists...
This is making me feel better now. Yeah.
You're going to be happy by the time we're done here. But they can measure life satisfaction. And the way they do that is they ask people, when you think of your life as a whole on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your life? And that's a pretty good measurement, actually. It's an evaluative measurement of your happiness. But you only remember about 2% of your life. You tend to remember the high points and the low points and what happened last. So if I asked you what you had for lunch a week ago Tuesday, you probably couldn't tell me. But you can remember the last 24 hours pretty well. So psychologists get at how you experience your life by asking you to remember the last 24 hours and how much joy, how much you smiled, how much stress you had. And from that, we can garner your daily emotions. And then the third measurement is purpose. How often do you get to use your strengths to do what you do best every day? And when you ask those 3 questions in a survey with 75 other questions about your demographics, your life characteristics, your values, and using the statistical trick of regression analysis and data that represents 95% of the human population, we can find out very clearly what sorts of things accompany happiness. And 2 of the most interesting things are, number 1, you may have heard that age is on a U-shaped curve. We tend to be pretty happy when we're in our 20s and optimistic and dating and so forth. When we get down between 45 and 55, about 50 is the toughest year when it comes to happiness for Americans. It varies in different countries, but 50 is the toughest years. And then happiness continues to rise. And as long as you keep your health, happiness rises into your hundreds. In fact, the happiest cohort in America are healthy people over age 100. There's not many of them, but it's worth shooting for.
They're happy to be alive.
The second thing in this Me Too generation, by the way, in countries where there is not gender equality, the women are happier than the men. And in countries where there is gender equality, the men are happier than the women. So note to self, men.